Thanks, everybody. Well, welcome to today's WEConnect International webinar. I'm really excited that you're joining us. My name is Maggie Berry. I'm the Executive Director for WEConnect International here in Europe. And today's session is Learn How to Learn Online with Zoom. And our presenters today are Jennifer Hoffman and Jennifer Lindsay-Finnan from InSync Training. They're a certified women's business enterprise based in the US and a pioneer in the field of virtual classrooms, having established some of the original certification for virtual classroom excellence. And I'm really excited that they're presenting for us today. In today's session, you're going to learn and gain an understanding of virtual learning kind of ground rules, defining the optimal environment for online learning, and really how to present and share a positive virtual classroom training experience. Now, to keep background noise to minimum, please do stay on mute, but do use the chat functionality to ask any questions, and please feel free to ask questions as we're going through, but there will definitely be time for questions at the end. I'm pretty much going to hand the floor over to both Jennifers, but the session is being recorded, so you should be able to listen back to it again. And really just a big thank you from the WEConnect team to InSync Training for presenting today's session. I'm also individually looking forward to learning more about Zoom. It's a platform that certainly seems to have come into its own in the last few weeks. So Jennifer and Jennifer, thank you very much, and over to you. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Learn How to Learn Online with Zoom. My name is Jennifer Hoffman, and I'm just here to introduce for a few slides, and then I'm going to turn it over to our resident Zoom expert, Jen Finnan. InSync Training, so that's me. I have been working in the virtual world for over 20 years. The live online environment has actually been around that long. And it's more than just a webinar. Now today we're in a webinar. Jen's gonna bring you through and teach you how to use the tools and move from webinars to training by adding interaction and engagement. But since we're very tight on time, I'm gonna let Jen introduce herself, then we'll do a little bit more background and get your hands on the computer, because this is a hands-on program.
All right, thanks Jennifer. Hi everyone, I'm Jennifer Lindsay-Finnan, so for today's purposes I'll be Jen, just to distinguish between us. I'm based in Perth in Scotland, and I've been working in learning and development for about 10 years now, and I've been with InSync for just over 2 years I think. And I just love working virtually. I love learning from people from all over the globe and hearing about everyone's different perspectives. So that's a little bit about me. Jennifer, back to you to tell us a wee bit more about what we do.
Well, InSync Training is a learning and development provider. We don't resell software, but we work with Adobe Connect, we work with Zoom, we work with WebEx, and a bunch of platforms you probably haven't heard of. For us, this is old school, but all of a sudden, we're like the most popular kids on the playground. We've got a team of 80 people or more around the world. I say 90% of us are women, and we're supporting virtual learning in lots of different languages right now. We do two things. We do train the trainer. We teach people how to facilitate virtually, how to design content for the virtual classroom, how we've got a course that we kind of call Zoom for trainers or WebEx for trainers to teach you kind of the ins and outs of how to use this software. But we also do those things too. We provide facilitators, we provide producers, we provide instructional designers. So if you ever need help with any of that stuff, please let me know. But you sent some questions in. Many of you sent a bunch of questions in, which was amazing. That's on the next slide, Jen. There you go. And we're going to cover as many, I'm not going to read these right now. These are going to come back at the end of the screen. We're going to cover as many of these things that we can during the session, go back to them at the end of the session, and I'll keep monitoring chat. Though there are a lot of questions, so we'll do our best to address them all. Jen, I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to go mute and I'll monitor chat for you.
All right, thanks for that, Jennifer. So let's get started with a bit of an overview of some of the tools. So you might have noticed we've both just switched our webcams off. We tend not to use webcams that often when we are facilitating. Sometimes people just don't have the bandwidth and it just causes connection issues. And sometimes, even if you are using them, well, we've got like over 30 people here today, it would be really difficult to see everyone properly. So often in the virtual classroom, there's a real lack of body language because we just can't see each other properly. But there are plenty of tools that we can use here to help replace that lack of body language. So if you don't see these feedback tools here, then click on that participants button at the bottom of your screen. Once you've found that participants panel, then just click on that green check. Just give me that green tick. I'm so used to saying a green check with our American audience that I'm going to consciously try a green tick today.
And reading the body language and the bandwidth means we're trying to pay attention to whether Maggie's here and whether Jen is here and whether Jeremy is here. It makes a difference in a learning environment that everybody's present.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. If you're on an iPad, you might just need to tap on the screen to see these tools, but they should be there. Now, the first icon that I want to draw your attention to is the raised hand icon. And I'll ask you to use that at any time that you've got a question today. So actually, let me ask you a question. Raise your hand if you're doing more virtually.
Oh, crap. What have I done?
Oh, hi there, Charlotte. We can hear you now. So I'll ask you to use your raise hand icon at any time that you've got any questions at all. But go ahead and raise your hand if you've been doing more virtually than you have ever before, really. Everyone's hand just shot up there. Yeah, thanks for that. All right. To remove your hand icon, I just cleared them, but normally you would just press that hand icon again and that would put your hand back down again. So as I said, anytime today, just raise your hand if you've got a question or type it into chat. We'll do our best to answer them, but we will make sure that there's enough time at the end to cover all the questions as well. All right, if we were in a face-to-face classroom, you know that we would normally communicate non-verbally by, nodding our heads or shaking our heads, and we can do that virtually using the green tick and the red X. So if I was to ask, do you have a pet? Give me a green tick for yes, give me a red X for no. So Danielle, you've got a pet. Do you want to come off mute and just tell us about your pets?
Sure. I have 2 kittens. One is 7 months old and the other one just about 2 months old. So
oh,
little. Yeah, they're very cute.
Oh, nice. Thanks for sharing. That's great.
Sure, thanks.
And Heather, you've got pets as well. Do you want to unmute yourself and tell us about your pets?
Hi, yes, yeah, I've got a dog that I rescued about 7 or 8 years ago. So yes, he's a good little companion.
Oh, nice, nice, yeah. And keeping us all company during this lockdown season. So I'll ask you just to have a click on that more button and have a look at some of the other icons. So we've got thumbs up, thumbs down. You can see a whole load of other icons. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready to continue, or raise your hand if you've got a question.
This is one of those places where if we were teaching, we would wait for every single person to give us feedback.
Yeah.
So you can't hide from us.
Hi there. Sorry, but I can't actually see any of the icons in order to be able to click on them. I did join a few minutes late, so I massively apologise if that was covered just now, but I can't click on anything at the moment.
That's all right, Jeremy. So are you on a computer?
I'm on a laptop, yeah.
You're on a laptop. So if you click on the participants button down at the bottom of your screen.
Don't actually have a, but I can see a shared screen at the moment. I can't click on anything on the shared screen.
So if you just move your mouse around, you should get a sort of menu down at the very bottom, just underneath the slides.
No, I've got my own menu bar on the bottom that's permanently there, and I think that there's some icons just behind that, but I can't.
Okay, you might just need to exit full screen so that you can see that, but you're looking for this participants icon down at the very bottom, and when you click on that, that opens up the list of all the names of everyone that's here.
Right.
Got it?
So I've got reactions, okay.
Yeah.
Record, share screen, okay.
So when you click on participants, you should see the raised hand icon, the green check, the red X, and so on.
And we're getting a lot of questions for people that says they've never seen all these icons.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was just going to say, Jennifer, if you've not seen these icons before, you do need to activate them in settings. So Tessa, you're spot on. You do just need to switch them on in settings, and they're known as non-verbal feedback in Zoom.
And once you set them up, that all your new sessions will use those settings, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So you do that once and then it's there. As the host, Maggie, so when you log into your Zoom in the background, so it's in the back end settings. All right, so those feedback tools are just one of the ways that we can sort of see the room, if you like. So let's have a look at some of the other tools then. We've got Whiteboard Tools, and these are always very popular. This provides us just another way to communicate in the virtual classroom. So let me just clear off these thumbs up and ask you to give me a green check when you've found those annotation tools. So you need to click, once again, if you're on a computer, you want to click on View Options up at the very top and then choose Annotate. If you're on an iPad, if you just tap the screen, then you'll see a little pen icon. The pointer, Heather, is this arrow here. And I'm just about to explain that in just a second anyway. All right, I think, so give me a green check when you can see those annotation tools. Or a thumbs up, that's good. Thanks, Joanne. All right, and I'm going to give you time to play around with these in just a minute, but I just want to point out a couple of the tools first of all. So Heather, you're asking about the arrow. So the arrow tool, what's different about this in Zoom is that only one person can have an arrow up at a time. So I can place my arrow on the screen, and then if someone else was to click on arrow, thanks Jeremy, they grab the arrow off me. So only one arrow on the screen at a time, which is a bit different. You've got some additional tools there, so you can use the eraser or the clear button to get rid of some of your annotations. You've also got the text tool. So clicking on the T for text tool means that you can then type on the screen. So this is great for lots of different activities that we might normally use a flip chart for. So give that a try just now. Oh, sorry, Jennifer.
I think it's better than a flip chart, because in a flip chart, you only have one person writing at a time. We've designed exercises that 20 people can write at a time, and it's very, very effective.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, go ahead and click on that T for text tool. And then just click on the slide, type something. Now the beauty is we'll only see what you've typed once you click away from it. And it's going to get very messy very quickly. So normally we would run sessions for sort of 12 participants, Jennifer, not usually this number, so we might need a bigger slide. All right, I think we've mastered the text tool. I just want to point out another couple of tools for us. The next one being the, let me just clear these annotations. Next one being the draw tools, and most of you have found the stamp tools, which are actually in between draw and arrow. So if you can go ahead and find your stamp tool, that's always useful as well. You can change the color of your text or your drawings by clicking on that format button. You can click on that format button and change the color, or you can change your font size there as well, which is really helpful.
I don't want to misspeak. You can, the presenter,
go ahead.
The presenter can move things around, right? Once people write it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sorry, I'm finding it difficult to keep up with chat. It's quite busy.
I'm working on the chat, don't worry.
Yeah, because it's my screen that I'm sharing, then I can move. I've got an additional select tool here. That's all right, Jeremy. I didn't think you were shouting at me. Are you the Jeremy that I've met before?
Yes, we worked together.
I thought so. Yeah. I didn't think you'd be shouting at me. All right, let me give you an opportunity to actually put these tools into practice. One of the key things I want to point out is that you do need to return to your cursor. So you need to click on that mouse button on the left-hand side. Otherwise, you will continue drawing on the screen all day. So let me just bring up a whiteboard for you and ask you to draw me a beautiful beach scene. So I'll let you all practice all the drawing tools and create a beach scene. So work together using these annotation tools.
And then when you're done playing or you're not inclined to play, click that green check mark so we know not to wait for you.
Yeah. And if you have any questions about these annotation tools, then just raise your hand or type them into chat.
And can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Olivia.
Hi.
With the whiteboard, can you control who can draw on it, or can anyone, as the host, are there settings where you can control who's allowed to draw on it, or can everybody draw on it the whole time?
So yeah, I can disable it for participants. It would disable it for all participants, but I do have that as an option, yeah.
So you can't just enable one participant at a time, for example?
No.
Okay.
However, people behave. They really do behave. One of the reasons we do learn how to learn online is to get it out of your system. You know, let everybody play with the tools, but people behave in the classroom. We leave all tools on all the time if we can.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, and what a masterpiece you're creating here. So I'm going to spoil everyone's fun and suggest that we move on because we do have quite a few other tools to show you. But yeah, what a beautiful beach scene. And can you imagine the chaos if we tried to do that activity on an actual flip chart? We'd need a massive wall, we'd need loads of pens, and we'd all be stepping all over each other. But yeah, beautiful artwork there. All right, if you were here right at the very start, then you would have noticed that we were using chat. And we do like to do a sort of warm up. As Jennifer says, it gets people to use the tools straight away. It gives us some information about people as well, and it gives people something to do while they're waiting for everyone to join. So we do use chat quite a bit. Now, if you can't see chat, then you do just need to click on that speech bubble icon down at the very bottom of your screen. So let me just introduce you to chat in Zoom. Down at the bottom, you'll see that you can type your message in there and you just press enter on your keypad. And you've also got some additional functionality by clicking on more. Like Jennifer says, we normally keep everything on, so it can be handy for us to be able to transfer a file to our participants, such as a workbook or an infographic that we're about to talk to. So we keep that on so that it gives us that option to do that. And some of our clients do like us to save the chat so that they can refer back to that later as well. We also have the option to send it to just one person in particular. So you could send messages to everyone, but perhaps if you're having a technical issue, you might want to just message the producer, and therefore you can change the to, where it says to everyone, you can change that to the producer's name. So let's try a quick chat activity. Out of all of the tools that we've covered so far, tell us what's been your favorite in chat. Just type that to everyone. And if you've got any questions or you can't see chat, then just raise your hand and let me know and we'll do our best to help you.
We've got some questions. People are only seeing, they're not seeing how to transfer a file. I think only you can do the transfer, right?
Yeah, we must have that changed in our settings actually. I've got the option to send a transfer in chat, and I think co-hosts do as well.
And it's Maggie. I have the file button coming up. Is that because did you put me as a co-host?
No, you're not a co-host. I thought it was enabled for everyone, so it must be there for everyone. It's just not under more.
Okay.
It's actually just a file button. You're right. It's changed.
I might look for a file that I can share them with everybody, something that's not anything, and see if it works.
Okay.
And they are changing things day to day, so they might have changed it to something else.
Yeah, just due to those security concerns that people were reporting, there's been a few changes. But it's great to see such a variety. There's so many people that like that stamp tool. So Fatima, you like the stamps, and Danielle, Sophie, you all love the stamps. Everyone loves the stamps in Zoom. Yeah, thanks, Maggie. You've just transferred a file. Now, one of the key things about the annotation tools, so I see that you're all very excited about the annotation tools, which is great. One of the key things to point out as a facilitator in Zoom is that when I move my slide on, you'll notice that all the annotations stay. So you've actually got to be really quick as a facilitator and clear them while you're changing your slide, which is one of the main reasons that we tend to work in pairs or work with a producer, so that you've got someone else to clear your slide for you. All right, now we've just been speaking about chat, and chat is a brilliant way to get some opinions, to get some contributions from everyone all at one time. Again, you know, imagine doing that in the face-to-face classroom. It would be utter chaos with everyone shouting out their answers. So chat can be great for that. Chat can also be used as a paired activity. Now, we're not actually going to do this today, but you imagine that in the face-to-face classroom, you'll know that there are plenty of times when you want people to work in groups of 2. So they want to do a pair and share activity. And we can do this in the virtual classroom. All we needed to do is assign you with a partner and ask you to change your 2 to everyone. And that's how we would normally run an activity like this. So we might put you in pairs and ask you to talk about a particular solution for a challenge in the virtual classroom, and get you just talking about that back and forward in complete silence, but back to back in chat. And then we might debrief that verbally. Just gives everyone that prefers a quieter space to work, gives them that opportunity, and it's just a different activity. And that's exactly how we would do that, is just ask you to select your partner's name in the drop-down box of chat and start your conversation. We're really keen to get to those questions that you sent us in advance though, so I'm not actually going to do that activity today. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the potential solutions to these obstacles. So people tell us that these are the main obstacles when they're learning in the virtual environment. Disruptions from other people, interruptions from other people around them. Maybe not so much if you're working from home, or maybe even more so if you're working from home. All those notifications on your phone, email and instant messenger. So let me give you an opportunity to practice using these whiteboard tools that you all seem to enjoy, and claim some space on the right hand side of the slide. There won't be that much space for everyone, but claim some space using your initials. So use that text tool, just type your initials somewhere on this slide and then click away so that we can see which, thanks for that, so that we can see what space you're looking for. Then once you've got a little bit of space, then go ahead and type a possible solution. In a minute, we're going to run out of space on the slide, so I'll ask you just to pop your solutions also in chat. So yeah, sorry Charlotte, just to claim a space using your initials, so click on that T for text tool, type your initials somewhere and then just click away. And normally that's the kind of activity we do right at the very start of a class so that people know that that's how we're going to operate the whiteboards. All right, so there's some great ideas here. Great ideas here, and it is getting very messy because there's quite a lot of us on here, but let's just pick out a couple. And obviously it's around, you know, closing down your Outlook, telling people that you're actually in training. So even if you're working remotely, you can do that via Skype or in Outlook, just change your status so that people are not expecting an immediate answer. Turn off all those notifications so that they're not distracting you. And yes, switch off your email if you can, so that you can concentrate. If you're in the face-to-face classroom, you would not be sitting with your email open. It's likely that you would not be sitting with your email open, so you wouldn't do that in a virtual classroom either. With Instant Messenger, of course, it's about closing that as well, switching off any notifications. Using headphones is the ideal solution to a noisy environment. And of course, using mute as well, so that you're not, so that everyone can't hear all your background noise as well.
So, Jen, I'm just
Jennifer,
gonna,
yeah.
So think about, this is just a simple exercise that anybody can contribute, but if you think about training sessions that you're running or meetings that you're running, you could get much more in depth. It all takes planning. And this is just a PowerPoint slide, and Jen's enabled us to write on top of that PowerPoint slide to create a pre-planned flip chart. As much stuff as you can plan ahead of time, the more smooth your program will run. And Jen, two questions have come through. One, can you as the host see who contributed what comment?
Nope, I cannot, although I can enable it. So there is an option where I can show the names of annotators, but it only lasts just like a second or two. I'll turn that on just so we see it next time.
Okay, and like I said, most people contribute. We don't have people writing horrible things on the screen. The other question that just came in, what is the recommended size for a whiteboarding activity? If it's planned, and we encourage people to make their font smaller, which they can do, right?
Yeah, under the format button.
So if we use the smaller fonts, we've used this very successfully with 15 to 20 people. If you don't mind messy, then we can use a lot of people, and sometimes messy is okay. Training doesn't need to be a perfect situation.
Yeah. All right, and thanks for that, Maggie. We just saw your name pop up on the slide because you were typing something, so that's the best we can do with regards to seeing who typed what. That's also why we ask people to sort of claim a space using their initials, because then I can use that to comment on things. Jeremy, we changed the font size under that format button in your annotation tools. So it would just look like a coloured square, and when you click on that, font is down at the bottom. You can change the colour and the font icons there.
Got it, thanks.
Perfect.
And it's Maggie. So my name came
Maggie.
up as Maggie Berry. I just saw it kind of pop up in black and white.
Yeah.
If somebody's logged in, you know, at the beginning you asked Sophie to put in her name because she put S.Dunkel in as her name.
Yeah.
Where do you put does the black and white box that pop up, does that dependent on, like, so Joanne's just come up, does that depend on what somebody's logged in as when they register for the session? I'm just wondering how you get Maggie Berry showing as opposed to M Berry or just MB.
Yeah, it would just be whatever your participant name is. So in that list of participants, you'll see that Sophie is now called Sophie because I changed her name.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure she would pop up as Sophie Dunkel. And you can change your name in the participants list. You just hover over your name and click rename.
Yeah. And can you encourage people to kind of register, I don't know, with their full name, like Maggie Berry? So
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. It also helps because I would normally be calling on people as well quite often. So it helps me so that I'm not talking to, you know, Rose iPad, which is a common one that comes up. I'm talking to actual people's names. But yeah, thanks for that. All right, let's move on then and talk about ground rules. So ground rules are guidelines that are really important to follow. They're going to help make sure that everyone has a successful virtual classroom experience. So I'm going to just ask you to read through these ground rules and give us a green check when you're finished reading. All right, so thank you. I can see that most of you have finished reading through these ground rules. Now that you've read them, just put your initials, so again, use that text tool to put your initials next to one of the rules that stood out the most for you. So maybe it's the one that you think is most important, maybe it's the one that you've just never thought of before, or maybe it's one that you know that you're going to struggle with. So thanks, Murray, for doing that first. Just pop your initials next to one or two that you think is the most important. All right, so Murray, I'll come to you first, since you were quick to pop your initials next to number 2 there. Tell me about that then. Why did you choose that one? Just unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi.
Thanks.
I did that
Hi.
because having delivered training, I think one of the challenges you have in delivering training is making sure that people do sit up and participate, particularly when you're throwing open questions to the group. And I think there's probably a tendency even more when people are behind a screen to sit back and let other people do the work. So I think encouraging people to really be on board and participate is important.
Yeah, it really is important. And that's the difference, isn't it? That's one of the key differences between it being a virtual training session and it being, you know, a webinar, is calling on people and getting people to interact. Julie Hall, I think you've put your initials next to number 3. Do you want to come off mute and just tell us about that? Raising your hand.
Hi, can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Great. So I am a regular trainer and I've actually not used these icons before. This just feels really useful to me, and it's a way of giving people a chance to be able to put, you know, to kind of say they've got a question even when somebody else is talking without interrupting them verbally. So I think that is a really good management tool.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, thanks, Julie. And let's come to one more. So Charlotte, I think you've gone for the coffee cup icon. Charlotte, do you want to unmute yourself? Yeah, go ahead. Tell us about that.
Yeah, similarly to the reaction, I think, to number 2 in a way. So again, running training, but I mean, obviously people, you know, have a tendency when they're remotely to get up and move away, I suppose. And it's easier to do when you're not there physically all the time. So it's just about being open and honest about, you know, your movements essentially. So, and I hadn't seen that one before, so I thought that was an interesting one.
Yeah, thanks for that, Charlotte. And that, I mean, it's really important when, especially when we're calling on people by name. It just avoids that awkward silence when you're calling on someone and they've stepped away to grab a coffee.
Yeah.
So that coffee cup icon is a nice, subtle way of letting everyone know. All right, so now that we've talked about a few of those, let's just pause for just a moment and take a look at how we did that. So some of you might have expected me just to read the ground rules to you and might have been a bit surprised. So from a learning perspective, what did we actually do here? How did I engage you as the learner? Type into chat what we did to engage you with that activity. Yeah, so Liz, I asked you to read it and then respond. Liz, do you want to come off mute? Do you think that makes a difference? Why do you think we do it like that?
Yeah, you're putting the onus on us, the learner, aren't you, to actually do something,
Yeah.
which is really interesting. Can I ask a question, which is about accessibility? I deliver quite a lot of training in the construction sector, and levels of literacy can be very low. I'm sure in other sectors as well. So I guess one would have to be very aware of font and language you're using and stuff on the slide decks to make that accessible to people.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course it's about knowing your audience. So if you suspected that some people were going to struggle to read this slide, obviously that would not be an appropriate activity. For the most part, for the most of our classes, this is an acceptable activity, and most people would rather read it themselves than try to listen to someone else reading it and following it along at the same time. But yeah, just adapt it.
Thanks.
And we're delivering in English. When you've got a non-native English group, or if you've got multiple languages, you might also need to adapt your slides as well. Now, we're very fortunate. I'm in the United States, and I assume everybody, I know I'm very arrogant and self-centered and everybody speaks my language, but I know that that's not really the case. So we need to be aware of our audience in that case as well. What languages are they speaking?
Yeah, definitely. And you know your audience is better than anyone. So, and Danielle says, yeah, simplify, everything works well. Yeah. All right, so give me a green check if you preferred that, or give me a red X if you would rather I just read them out to you. All right, and at the moment we are about 14 votes to 2, so good to see that. Justine, you like both. Yeah, and exactly, it's about knowing your audience and knowing your content and knowing what's important for the particular activity that you're on. All right, so now that we're a bit more familiar with the ground rules, let's take a look at the ways that the environment has changed and the role of the learner and how that's changed. So really, since we were in nursery school or kindergarten, or even before that probably, we've been learning in much the same way. So this picture on the left-hand side probably looks pretty familiar to most of us. So when we think about this way of learning, what role does the learner play in this environment? Again, just either claim some space on the whiteboard, or you can use chat if you prefer. So use your initials to claim some space and then tell us about the role of the learner in the traditional classroom. And let me add some of the points from chat. So yeah, thanks. Sit and listen, being passive. Passive is one of the common things that's coming up there. Yeah, so the facilitators in the front of the room, and they're doing that. All right, however, in the virtual classroom, things are a bit different. So tell us then on this right-hand side, and I'm going to try and move things around a bit. Tell us on the right-hand side then, what's different about it? So what is the role of the learner in the virtual classroom environment? What are some of the new things that you need to do when you're learning virtually?
So Teresa in the chat said concentrate more. It does take more focus to be successful virtually. You really need to pay a lot more attention. But I think that as we learn to master these environments, either to teach in these environments or learn in these environments, I think we become better in the face-to-face world as well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, we're really expecting everyone to learn how to learn all over again, aren't we? All right, I'm going to move us on because I think this next topic is why most of you are probably here, and that's around breakout rooms. So we often use breakout rooms just to do these group activities. So in the face-to-face environment, you might split people off into different groups. You might do an activity similar to this, where you ask group 1 to look at technology, group 2 to look at this, and so on. And you might say, go and sit in your separate groups or different rooms even to have these discussions. And then when we come back, we'll talk it all through and we'll do a debrief. So we can still do that virtually. Give me a green check if you've participated in a breakout room virtually. Give me a red X if you've not. All right, so quite a few of you have. And thank you for whoever's drawing me a red X on the screen. That's perfect. All right, so probably about 2/3 of you have and some of you have not. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to give you a taster of what that is like in Zoom. So in a moment, I'm going to open up some rooms. I'm going to just split you into 6 groups quite randomly. And yeah, Jennifer's pointing out in the chat that normally we would do this and we would put you into these groups for about 10 minutes or so that you can have a proper discussion. We can even, of course, help you share a whiteboard and annotate on the whiteboard and do all of those things. But because time's tight and we want to get to all of your questions, I'm just going to let you experience this breakout room just for a couple of minutes, and then I'll bring you back. So while you're in your breakout room, just make sure that you know how to unmute yourself and perhaps speak to your group. There'll be 5 or 6 others in your group, so you can introduce yourselves to each other. Notice that there'll also be a ask for help button in your room. So it's down at the bottom, this ask for help button. And if you do need any technical help, then just press that, and that'll let Jennifer and I know that you need some assistance. All right, so in just a moment, I'm going to start the breakouts, and you will see a pop-up on your screen that looks a bit like that. All you need to do is click join. And then you'll be moved into a space, a virtual space, where you can only speak to the people that are in your group. Give me a green check if you're happy to give it a go. Raise your hand if you've got any questions about how this is going to work.
Jen, hi, it's Maggie. I've got a question. Have you preset these groups? Like, how
I have, yeah.
And how do you, is that based on obviously the people who've dialed in live, or do you do it on the list of people who registered?
Yes, I've just done it literally 2 minutes ago.
Okay, thanks.
Helen, go ahead. Unmute yourself, Helen.
Sorry, I misunderstood the instructions, don't worry.
That's all right. So in a moment, oh, you're fine now, okay.
Yeah.
Great, all right, so I'm going to start these breakouts. All you need to do is look out for that join button. When we come back from breakouts, I'll answer some more questions about the technology side of it. I'm just going to experience it for now. Just click that join button and then you'll be joined in your group. And if you can still hear my voice, you're looking for those join buttons on your screen.
Important things in virtual training, unless you're training people interpersonal skills. I am not the content. The content's on the screen. The content and the learning happens in the breakouts, on the slides, in the chat. So it's, there's a lot more to it than just pushing PowerPoints. And let's take a look at some of the questions that came in earlier.
Sure, let me just move us on. We've got, yeah.
So we've been talking about best practices for producers, how to prepare a Zoom meeting. There's a class that we teach that's called Maximizing Zoom, or it's basically Zoom for trainers, and we're actually going to be, I'm going to send Maggie a link to share with all of you, because we're putting together a special reduced price version, and we'll send that out to you. But the idea is to go into those settings ahead of time, turn on everything you want turned on, and be prepared. Have a plan. Don't just hope to speak and people will participate. And things to bear in mind as a facilitator. We're talking about technical tips for this whole hour, and thanks, Jen, for being such an expert. But things to keep in mind as a facilitator is it's not all about us. It's about learning. And if we don't finish all the slides, we don't finish all the slides. Less is more. We try to minimize what's on the screen. We kind of try to make the slides useless. Because if people think all the information's on the slides, they'll pay less attention to us while we're learning. And is it okay to move away from Zoom? I think it's okay to break. You can send people to websites. You can send people to a participant guide. Give them a reason to look down and look away from the screen. Because this is hard. And we're already getting a lot of complaints about Zoom fatigue or video conferencing fatigue. This is, we're sitting here and not moving and trying to pay attention. Give people a reason to stand up and walk away. In our 2-hour sessions, we put in virtual yoga moves. So things that people can do at their desks to kind of refresh and reflect. What's the maximum number of learners you would say is best for an experiential workshop run in Zoom? for training, which is different than what we did today. Today was hands-on, but it was still a webinar. But for training, think about how many people you would put in a face-to-face class, say teaching project management. Maybe you would max that class out at 20 face-to-face. Why would you increase that number in the virtual classroom? It's harder to manage, it's harder to engage. Just because you can put 50 people in a room doesn't mean you should put 50 people in a room. As a matter of fact, you notice that we put a maximum on today's session because if 100 people were here, you would not have had that experience. You would not have been able to participate. You would have been inclined not to. So how long are our sessions? We believe that if it's hands-on and there's breakout rooms and people are truly contributing, you can have a 2-hour session, but we put in a 10-minute break at the middle of the session. We do have plenty of sessions that go longer. Our friends from People Development team have got sessions that go longer, I think, but they're very hands-on. They're very active. The more active the learners are, the longer the sessions can be, but you want breaks. You either want a full break, like a 1-hour lunch, or a 10-minute break. A 20-minute break, people walk away and they don't come back. So guidelines for managing large groups of people online: use a producer. And the producer is more than tech support. They're more than making sure the microphones and the videos work, but they're answering chats. When you have multiple languages, they're reiterating questions so people that say have English as a second language can see those questions come up in chat as well. Things like that. The producer should be very active. And don't just hold questions till the end, because people have their next Zoom session scheduled. Maggie, I'm just running through all of these questions. Can you move to the next slide, Jen? And Maggie, I think that it's to some extent, we've addressed many of these questions. And I know that there are many more, but I wanted to give you a chance to put in the last word.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Jen. Yeah, this has been amazing, and I can see on the chat that there's lots of other questions coming along around how do you do that in the back end, what do this, where are there like Zoom training that I guess is you can look at as the host and things like that, but this has been incredibly helpful. I mean, as an organization, we are using Zoom, but my comment about the 5% of functionality, yeah, I feel that about so much tech that's out there that I probably use such a small percentage simply because I don't know what's there and how to do it. And this has been, you know, incredibly useful. And I very much want to say thank you to you, even for the suggestion on the WB2B huddle a couple of weeks ago, and then for mobilizing so quickly to enable this to happen. And thank you to everybody for dialing in and being so participative and having a go. Jennifer, tell us a bit more about the code that you've put up on the screen, and if people want to find out more, what they need to do. And we'll put this in the follow-up email that Jay will send. As well.
We offer many classes, and in the next day or two we're adding a couple more, which is some more Zoom for trainers, WebEx for trainers. We call them maximizing Zoom or maximizing WebEx. You can use the coupon code WEConnect 10 to get a 10% discount. And if you're interested in bringing a private class to your organization, we can certainly talk to you about that. I appreciate the fact that you gave us time and attention today. I do want to reiterate that no matter what you do next, learn to use whatever tools you have available to you, and then use those tools to engage and build time into your program for engagement. The problem with engagement and activity is it takes more time. It's okay. We don't need 60 slides in every session. Thank you for your time and attention today. I realize we're running up against the hour. I hope everyone stays safe. And Jen Finnan, thank you for such a brilliant session.
You're welcome. So thanks everyone. I'll stay on the line to answer a couple more questions. I've also just posted the feedback survey into chat, so you will need to copy and paste that into your browser.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Jen. And we can share that. I'll make sure that goes in I'll copy it now and make sure that Jay shares that in the follow-up email as well. And thank you very much, everybody, for dialing in. And I just think there's just so much, and I think it's not just taking like an in-person session and putting it into it's really thinking about the different elements and how you change that. And it's not just a quick, it's not a quick thing. You do need to prepare as you're been presenting in a virtual session rather than in person. But thank you very much, everybody. And Jen, if you're happy to answer a few more questions and you'd like to stay on, please do. I have to admit, I am jumping on to my next call at 1 o'clock. So Jennifer and Jen, I will be in touch separately later on to say thank you and to close the follow up. But thank you very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You're welcome, Maggie.
Thank you.
So Jeremy, I think, had a question.
Yeah, Jeremy, go ahead.
Not really a question, just to say thank you very much. You commented about PDT Global and the longer sessions. Yeah, we do longer sessions on WebEx, as you know. Lots of breaks is really important, and I can only reiterate the wonderful things that you've been saying about planning, making sure that you're using the tools and having a real focus on the learning outcomes. We're great partners with InSync on many of the sessions that we run. So thanks again, guys. I
appreciate that. Thank you, Jeremy. And nice to hear your voice.
Thank you. And yours too.
I owe you some. I owe your buddy Bill some stuff. He's going to be angry. I'll get it to him.
See you soon, Jeremy.
See you soon. Take care.
Yeah, you too. And Asa, sorry, please correct my.
Okay. Hi there.
Hi there. Welcome.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Åsa. A Swedish complicated letter at the beginning. Yeah, sorry about that. Right, now I just wanted to know, because I've never really run any sessions online with activities. I'm used to doing activities in person. So do you know anywhere with resources to find like online, these sort of session activities?
Yeah, Jennifer, do we have something?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is go grab a recording of a session I did recently, which was using scenarios in virtual classrooms, and I'll post that recording here in chat.
Okay,
perfect.
Thank you very much.
Because it's, you can do some really advanced stuff. You really can.
Okay, cool. The other little question that I had earlier was the fact that you, in the chat box, you said that you can do the file, and there's the other thing was more. I can't see more in the chat box. Is that the same more as it would be in the participants?
No, there are several different more buttons. And you used to be able to find file under more, but they've changed that. So now it's only the host and the co-host, and we've got the option to change who people can chat with. So we like everyone to chat with each other, so we always set it to everyone publicly and privately. But if you were doing more of a webinar, you can change that there to participant can chat with host only, for example.
Okay, well, I thought you said that to the right of everyone, or whatever it is, you have file button, and there was also, you said that there was a more button there.
Yeah, that's right. There is, but it's only visible to us. It used to be a more button that contained the file share. No, it's changed.
Gotcha. Okay, fantastic.
I thought that they had brought the hot links back, Jen. They got rid of them again?
Yeah, they said they will bring them back, but they've not brought them back yet. So you just need to copy and paste all these links into your browser. They used to be clickable, but yeah, they've tightened up.
Will do. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay then. Bye-bye.
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 Well, thank you, Jen. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.